A lock on your front door can be picked. That's annoying, but fixable. Change the lock. Now imagine the lock manufacturer secretly built a second keyhole into every lock they ever made, and only they know it exists. That's a hardware backdoor. Except in a CPU, you might never find it. A hardware backdoor is a hidden entry point built directly into a chip, not added by a hacker later, not a software bug, but designed in from the start. It sits at the lowest possible level of your computer, the processor itself. Think of your CPU as the brain of your machine. Everything runs through it. If that brain has a secret door, whoever built it in can walk past every password, every encryption, every security tool you've ever installed without triggering a single alarm. Software security doesn't protect you from something that lives beneath the software. Most people assume their security lives or falls at the software layer. Antivirus, firewalls, strong passwords. And for most everyday threats, that's mostly true. But hardware backdoors operate in a completely different arena. Consider this. A company buys servers to run sensitive financial data. The chips inside were manufactured overseas, passed through a global supply chain, and arrived looking completely legitimate. If a backdoor was introduced during manufacturing, or even during firmware installation after the fact, no amount of software auditing will find it. The attack surface is the hardware itself. This is called a supply chain attack. And it doesn't only affect corporations. It affects anyone who uses a device they didn't build themselves, which is everyone. Government agencies, hospitals, banks, and military contractors think about this constantly. Most individuals don't, but understanding what's possible changes how you think about trust in technology. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. Modern processors don't just run your code directly. There's a hidden layer underneath called microcode. Think of it as the firmware that tells the chip how to interpret every instruction your software gives it. You never see it. Your operating system doesn't fully control it. The chip manufacturer does. In 2023, researchers at the University of Birmingham discovered an undocumented backdoor in a widely used Chinese microcontroller chip, the GD3VF1SO3. The backdoor could be triggered with a specific secret instruction sequence. That sequence isn't in any public documentation, it just exists, waiting. Now apply that idea to a full CPU from a major manufacturer. The processor has billions of transistors. Auditing that physically is nearly impossible. And microcode updates, which chip companies push regularly to patch bugs, can theoretically introduce changes that are extremely difficult to independently verify. This is why hardware security researchers use techniques like side-channel analysis, where they measure tiny variations in power consumption or electromagnetic output to reverse engineer what a chip is actually doing internally. It's painstaking, specialized work. And if you like understanding how this stuff actually works, Stack Future breaks down something new every day. A hardware backdoor could give an attacker the ability to read memory they shouldn't touch, bypass encryption at the hardware level, or survive a complete operating system reinstall, because reinstalling software doesn't touch the chip. In 2020, Bloomberg reported, controversially and disputed by the companies named, that malicious chips had allegedly been inserted into server motherboards during manufacturing. Whether that specific story holds up or not, the scenario it described is technically plausible, and the security community has taken it seriously enough to build entire research fields around it. Here's the concrete version. Imagine you're an IT administrator deploying servers in a hospital network. You image the drives, configure the firewalls, patch everything. But the baseboard management controller, a small chip that lets administrators access a server remotely, even when it's off, has modified firmware. It's phoning home, quietly, through a port your network monitoring isn't watching. You didn't install malware. You didn't click anything. The attack was in the hardware before the box arrived at your door. This is the supply chain attack in its most unsettling form, a threat that exists before you ever touch the device. Hardware backdoors are rare, difficult to execute, and mostly targeted at high-value infrastructure. But they are real, they have been found, and they expose the fundamental limit of software-only security. The deeper lesson is this. Trust in technology is layered, and the hardware layer is the one most people never think to question. If this one got you thinking, the next step worth understanding is how firmware attacks work, a related threat that lives just one layer above the chip itself. And if this actually taught you something, the like button is right there. It helps more people find this channel.